two versions of Rag Mama Rag, two different takes, but if you play both of them on top of each other, there's two completely amazing things that happen. And I'm going to show you what it is. One I'll show you right away, and then I'll show you how to play this thing. Because I feel like most people who play this maybe learned it from somebody who didn't really spend too much time with Blind Boy's music, or maybe they just decidedly made it their own. Maybe learned it from some other source. Anyway, it's all good, but I want to show you some of the things that Blind Boy did that make his version really, really special. And then I'm going to show you something that I never knew before, sticking these two things on top of each other. It made something stick out that I never noticed before, and actually, well, it kind of warped my mind, and then it blew my mind. So I'll show you that at the end there. For now, I got these two tracks queued up here. One is version 1 and one is version 2. It seems kind of debatable which one was actually the first take and which one was the second take, so I'm just calling them version 1 and version 2. And we'll just play it here.
Said I'm going uptown, had my hand, looking for a woman, ain't got no man. This baby looking for a needle.
And because of copyright, I can only show you a snippet of this experiment.
What blew my mind is like the musicianship of the perfect timing. I mean, there's the exact same tempo. And man, that's hard to do. That's really hard to do. So as far as learning from these two versions, it's a really special thing. One thing I'll point out right away, the vocal variation. Before we talk about the guitar, the vocal variation. So whenever I play this song, I have a hard time actually like singing it, like finding the melody. And if you listen to these two versions, so here's version 1.
Said I'm going uptown, had my hand.
Okay, now here's version 2.
Said I'm going uptown, had my hand.
So one vocal kind of stays high and one kind of goes low. And so that explains it to me. It's like, oh, so I don't know what the melody of the song is because he just kind of is loose. It's really loose. So what's the right version for you? Well, that's up to you to decide and just spend enough time with Blind Boy Fuller's music and take from it what you can. Let's get to the guitar here. When you're learning this kind of stuff now, you gotta figure out like capo or no capo. Because we've got this walk up, right? That's the key of F there. And so if we check this out, like chord wise, we've got D7, G7, I guess G7. We've got a C7, back to F with this little walk up. But if you listen to the recording, there's all kinds of other high notes that indicate that it's probably not that. Listen to this here. Okay, so that's the C7 chord, and note-wise it would be this. That. So a capo starts to make sense. So what I suggest is take this capo and throw it over on fret 5. When you throw it on capo 5, you actually have to change your chord shapes, right? So instead of D7, G7, C7, F, we're gonna go A7, D7, G7, C. And our shapes are gonna look a little bit different too. So you've got the C shape here, and then you're gonna use this A shape, and this D7 shape, which is like C7, but just shifted up. And you have this G7, back to C. Those are the shapes for the whole song. Now if we listen to this intro, we have a really cool way to start this tune. It's a little walk down. It comes back again, but it's the way the tune starts. So here's what most people do. Right? And you bring that finger down to that A7. If you listen really closely, he does a little bit of a harmony in there. So we've got this. It's light. It's not like classical music where every note's like weighted equally, but it makes a really cool effect. And it brings us perfectly into this next bar where we have this little figure here. And then that brings us to fret 3 on beat 4, bringing us to this D7 chord. Figure looks like this. The thing you gotta figure out is this alternating bass. So that goes through this whole thing. Which brings us right to G7. Now what you gotta check out when you do this is, it's a really common G7 riff until you bring your pinky to the 3rd fret on the 1st string. You also drop your 1st finger to the 1st fret on the 2nd string. I just think that's missed, and it makes a really cool little voice leading raggy thing. So we have this classic little turnaround. It's really just this. add chops in this little chord. Just add a little bit of rhythm to it. And the next part's almost identical. It's almost identical, except for the G7 to C7. He changes the rhythm and the melody a little bit here. So G7, you've got this. And to close it, we have this little chromatic run on the open E string, followed by a chromatic run on the A string. You put that together. You have these two voices. So, what a cool tune, man. That's it. That's it for the riffs. Now, I started spending a lot of time with this recording this week because I always just kind of wanted to get a little bit. I just wanted to clean up the tune a little bit. I've kind of folked it up a little too much, right? Meaning, I learned it and then I kind of just did my own thing with it to the point where I kind of lost the tune. And for me, that's when I start to kind of like go back and do some tune maintenance. So now while I was doing that, and I had that idea like, man, these tunes, the tempos are like, they seem identical, and I layered them on top of each other, I started hearing stuff. And listen to what I was hearing. So I'll play them on top of each other here, which is kind of cacophonous. But I started hearing something. And so I'm going to play just one of them. I'm going to play take one. You can hear that. If you listen really closely, maybe you're going to need headphones on. There's another guitar player. There's another guitar player, and it's not the layered guitar. That's what was throwing me. I was like, is there like, what's going on here? No, if you just listen to one of these takes, not layered, there are two guitars. So I had to look it up, and I found this website, a website I've never heard of before, called Music Brains with a Z. But then here we go: Blind Boy Fuller, Bull City Red, and Rev Gary Davis. So I knew these guys went to New York together. I did not know they recorded this tune together. So now I don't know why they had him so far in the back, because what he's doing sounds absolutely amazing and would have made this tune just to the next level. But it's just a little secret that you and I get to know, that there's actually two guitar players in this classic tune and nobody's talking about it. I don't know. I mean, no one's talking about it because you can't hear it, but it's there. While Rev Gary Davis's guitar part is almost impossible to transcribe, I did transcribe Blind Boy Fuller's guitar part in the first two go-arounds. It's what most people are calling take one. Not that it really matters, but both guitar parts are almost identical. So that's over on the Patreon, as well as like a slow play along. If you're keeping up with these Blind Boy Fuller videos, I hope you're learning something, because I sure am. If you haven't seen the other ones, you can follow this little playlist link there and check out the other ones. Otherwise, feel free to watch whatever's coming up next over here, and ask me any questions you got in the comments. Thanks, everybody.